Hey guys, welcome to this new video series where we're going to be building a Rails application that'll be like a head start for future applications that we build. I'm going to start. I have my command prompt up here. I'm going to cd to my dev directory. I'm going to run Rails new Rails MVP starter. I'm also going to tell it for our database we want to use PostgreSQL. So I'm going to run this command. That'll take a moment to run. It'll load all the files that we need to build this application. But the point of this application is for us to have a starting point for when we build new applications. We don't want to have to write authentication or payments or a lot of the system level services that most applications need. We don't want to have to write that over and over again. So we're building this project to be generic so that we can use it in a lot of other projects. And it'll save us a lot of time as we try to go through building a bunch of applications really quickly. So that command has run. Now we have a directory called Rails MVP starter. And I'm going to move into that directory. I'm going to also open up RubyMine, which is the program that I use. It's called an IDE for building Rails applications. I really like this tool, so I'm going to open the project that I just created. Here, Rails MVP starter, and click open. And I'll take just a moment to open that up. In our command prompt over here, I'm going to say rake db create, and that will create our PostgreSQL databases. So here is RubyMine, and this is our application. Note that RubyMine has got all the files flagged as red. That means that they're not under source control, so we want to get them under source control. But before we do that, I want to just make one quick change. I want to come into config and go to the database here, and I don't love this name for a database. I just want it to be starter. So I'm going to just update the names of these databases here in the database YAML file, and now I'm going to run rake db create. We've created those databases. I'm going to say Rails S to start the server. Now the server's running. We can open up Chrome. And now we can see that Ruby on Rails, the application is running, and this is being served up on localhost 3000. The last thing that I want to do is I want to get this application pushed up to Git using GitHub. So I'm going to go to GitHub and to the Nimble Labs organization. I'm going to click New. Give this a repository name of Rails MVP starter. We're going to make this public and open source, and we're going to just create this repository. So now that it's created, Git, if it's an empty repository, it'll give you some commands to run to get your code up into GitHub. So I'm going to kill the server here. I'm going to say clear. I'm going to run git init. That initializes an empty Git repository that's on my local computer. I'm going to say git status here, and look, all of these files have not been pushed up to the server, obviously, because we just created them and we just have a local repository here. So one thing I want to do before I push this up is this idea directory is something we don't want to be under source control. That's comes from the Ruby IDE here, and we just don't really need that in our repository. So I'm going to open up the git ignore file, and I'm just going to add at the bottom down here that directory. So now Git will ignore that. So now if I run git status again, we do not see the idea file. All these other files all look good to add. So if we go back to GitHub, it says git add readme. I'm going to say instead of that, git add dot, and that's just going to add everything. So if I say git status, now we'll see that all these files are staged to be pushed up. I can say git commit. It doesn't matter. New Rails application for MVP projects. I'm going to commit all that, and then now I'm going to create this main branch, and I want to push. First, I want to add this remote. This tells my local GitHub repository. It says this is going to be the server repository. It's on github.com, and this is the URL for it. And we're adding this origin and saying, hey, this is a remote server. So once we've added that, then we can say git push origin main. That sends all of your information, all of your files up to the repository. Now if I refresh this page, we'll see that the new application is up on GitHub. So what did we do in this video? All we did was create a new Rails application, we created the database, and then we also created the GitHub project for this. One other thing I can show you real quick is I'm going to open pgadmin. So a lot of times it's nice to actually see your database, actually see it running. So this starter development database here and starter test are the two databases that are connected to this project. We know that from this database file where we created these databases and ran the rakedb create command. So anyways, as we add tables here, we can go into our database and look at them. We've got this all up here in Git, and now we're really ready to start building some features. So hope this video helped you to see how you start a Rails project and get it pushed up to GitHub and create the databases. And I look forward to building out this application. Thanks for watching. See ya.